first series of the day, our first series, it wasn't the first series of the day, was that Lee Sin had that early agency to challenge. Diana doesn't have that nearly as much. Diana is very much a farm to 6, have agency, then jungler. So Tarzan a little bit of a freer time. They picked the Varus up as well, so a strong AD carry. And Betty gonna go with the Kalista, which, you know, if the Zac doesn't connect, great. If the Zac does connect, a lot less great is what I'll say about that.
Yeah, you're basically relying on Betty to be able to kite out from a botched engage from Tarzan on the Zac and just delete his health bar with those stacking spears in his back. But we'll see now what Rogue Warriors want to try and prioritize in their bans that come into this. They are going to go with the Lucian ban here. I actually quite like this one here because they're looking to try and mitigate any of those strong laning opponents that can abuse the fact that Zac has such a large engage.
Yeah, and you need mid priority here, very importantly for LNG. You very much want to play around that so you have space for this Zac to function well in these team fights. So we'll see what else pans out here. We did see some slight Taric changes on the patch with some reduced mana cost. I am a big fan of Taric with the Kalista, and I think when the enemy team has a lot of engage like this, it has a ton of value. So we'll see if they look to potentially bring that one out. For now though, the set going to be banned away. A really strong support when paired with the Kalista. We see him, he's not really flex to support as much anymore, but with Kalista it's kind of like the exception, right?
Absolutely. I think it is the exception when we usually see it, but it is something that set can be brought into the bot side, and something Chocho has played quite a bit in his LPL career. And now we see the Braum banned away, the Lucian. I think you could probably ban away the Nautilus here, maybe even the Leona on the side of LNG, and still give something to your bot lane that should be able to deal with the latter.
Yeah, I for sure think with the Braum taken away, it kind of opens up a lot of those aggressive engaged supports you like to pair with the Kalista, and Leona is kind of the premier when it comes to those. Obviously, you get that synergy with the Diana as well, right? So value there too.
Absolutely, you don't get the lore people locked up in the same team, as we just see now Rogue Warriors thinking about their options right now. Not 100% confirmed about what they want to do, but I think the Nautilus was a pretty easy answer for them. They don't want to go with something that hasn't got as good engage, especially when you're looking for that early advantage.
We'll see what LNG are going to end up going with to sort of round out their composition. I do like one aspect of the Nautilus is that he has a knock-up, so you can actually stop the Zac in midair. It's a little bit tricky, but it's possible, which is important. I think if you pick something that doesn't have any agency to do that, it can cause problems. And I think potentially going to go with the Alistar. The Alistar, it's good here for multiple reasons. One, strong engage to pair up with that Zac, but also the fact is point and click. It's Betty can't outplay an Alistar, right? You know, if he combos you get comboed. You either flash it or you don't, and you get knocked up. So a lot of strength there, and it allows potential follow-up for Tarzan. We'll see what else LNG want to bring through here. The Rise is something that's been rearing its head across today's games, and they will lock that one in. So has that mid lane priority that they've been definitely seeking in this one. And it's just going to be a quick Silas answer for Forge here.
I was getting excited because I was looking at all the picks and I was like, that's a hell of a lot of knockups. And I was like, that's enough AP in your team to deal with and put with an AD mid laner. And Forge is known as for his AD assassins. I was like, maybe we get the Yasuo Diana combination. Not to be right now for Rogue Warriors. They do lock in the Silas at the end of it all, but Silas good enough to basically do exactly what the Rise will do. Just gonna be a little bit of a struggle in the early stages, so once he's able to hit level 6 and get some more points into his queue, he should be able to keep up with the CSing and the wave pushing. And right now, looking at two teams, it feels like how, for me anyway, if LNG can just keep this Viego and Rise farming up and get them to 1.5 items, they should come out on top, because Rogue Warriors don't have a lot of great responses or answers to them later on this game.
Yeah, I mean, I think LNG should feel comfortable going later in this one. The thing is, though, it's kind of that Rise in the backline, that Varus in the backline. We've seen teams struggle at keeping their backline safe a fair bit, and there's a lot of dive potential on the side of Rogue Warriors. So even if we do get to the later stages, I could imagine a team fight where a good dive, good engage potential, good flank comes out from Rogue Warriors, and they manage just to win the fight off the back of that, even if the scaling doesn't necessarily favor them. But for the most part, I think LNG are kind of comfortable here. The Zac should have a pretty chill time getting to the later stages. You have that Rise who's going to give you priority early. You have that Viego who's going to have priority level 1. Bot lane is a little bit more tenuous just because of the fact that you have a Kalista on the other side. You have an Alistar who's not the best level 1. But as long as you have a side to play for, which you absolutely do here, Tarzan should be comfortable. And if you can get to those later stages, he will be a big threat to deal with.
Yeah, all the cards in the late game going towards LNG, but we'll see if Rogue Warriors have anything to say about that before we get there. Of course, the late game is all nice and good to talk about, but you gotta get yourself to there. You gotta survive and maybe thrive if you can. But for Rogue Warriors, if they can get an early advantage, if they can put this Viego behind to get this Renekton rolling, they could find themselves in a much better advantageous position as well.
Absolutely. Definitely would start things off strong. Do you see Rogue Warriors looking for an early ward on the red buff? And again, they want to track this, and I fully expect this to be a bot side start from LNG, just because then you can path up towards the top side. We're going to have that secured priority. You could also potentially try and, I mean, maybe actually just going for that start on the top side, which is pretty interesting to me. I would have thought that he would want to path towards the lanes where he has that guaranteed security. But he's just going to start the wolves. Could end up looping back regardless. We'll see how it pans out.
Yep, we'll see where he goes with his pathing. Of course, always curious to see how junglers do decide where they decide to go with their path. Of course, when you start with the W on the Zac, it is nice to have multiple different units, if you will, in the camp to be able to fully utilize that particular spell. Of course, on the single target camps, it doesn't really do a lot. And this is Xiaohao doing exactly what he saw last time, where he takes his Raptors, then takes his Krugs, and then moves forward to try and take out his Red Wolf afterwards to try and see if he can wait out any vision from the opposition team.
Yeah, so I think Tarzan might be doing, so he's starting on the wolves, but then looping bot to loop back up top side, and that's why he'll have priority on that top side of the map, so he should just be able to get that scuttle. On the other side, Xiaohao's playing towards his bot lane, so he has someone to lean with, and it's very important when securing these scuttles, because we saw in that last game, obviously Tarzan got denied both scuttles in the early game, which did set him back a fair bit. Didn't matter in the long run, but definitely something you want to avoid where possible.
Absolutely, and again, this is a big game for LNG. Win this, you are guaranteed playoffs. You will no longer have to worry whether or not that is an if, it will be a when. And for Rogue Warriors, you're just looking to improve. You're looking to see what you can do so that when you come into the 2022 split, you have yourself an option to run with. But Xiaohao has just cleared his top side and going straight into the top lane. I love this movement here as they're going to try and catch out Ale. Flash forward does get the Call the Meek down. They're going to be able to take him out, no questions asked. And that's exactly what I talked about for Rogue Warriors.
Yeah, get that early gang, set the Viego behind, and again, no flash makes you a very vulnerable target. You're pushing the lane because you have that advantage in the early levels, and you kind of just get punished for it. And now Tarzan still has his topside jungle he needs to clear, and because of his pathing's been a little bit unique, it's been harder to track exactly where he is, but he needs to go towards that top side. Ale's going to TP back in, so he's going to be able to keep applying that pressure, and we'll see Xiaohao secure that bot side skull as we kind of expect.
Yeah, they are putting pings down to see if Xiaohao was there, but they don't know exactly where he is. They're going to assume now, if he is not on the top side scuttle, that he's probably on the bot side scuttle, or at least in one of his camps. So they will have a decent idea of where he is. And funny enough, actually, the scuttle, one of the harder camps for someone like a Zac to take, but will take it nonetheless. And curious to see where Xiaohao now takes this priority that he's got himself. He's got himself an early kill. He's going to be able to clear out his bot side, maybe even go for another clear towards the top end. Like, this is actually a very smart pathing, if you will, from the Rogue Warriors jungler.
Yeah, absolutely. This is Xiao finding these advantages, finding these opportunities, and not really limiting his clear at all. He's still clearing at a pretty fast pace, keeping him up in terms of camps, and constantly has something to sort of lean towards and to take out. But getting that early advantage, definitely something that you sort of look for. We talked about the Zac earlier today. Level 5 is kind of the point where you start being able to impact the map and find stronger ganks, just because of the back of having that elongated range for the elastic slingshot, meaning you can find better gank paths to come in and punish.
Yeah, I think that's what we're going to see now. Actually, teleport coming into this top side. ZDZ just trying to see if he can dodge out the stun. Will get stunned up a little bit here. Underneath turret, though, with the slice and dice, gets himself out. Icon and LA taking about half their HP out of the turret shots. And honestly, I don't think you're upset about that for Rogue Warriors. You wasted the TP. He has to go back now. And I actually think that this gives Forge an opportunity to push in the wave and get a free reset.
Yeah, Forge pretty chill with this one. Taking the opportunity, and we can kind of take stock of, like, you know, we set up those win cons earlier. It was kind of like we wanted to see a bit of aggression from the spot lane of Rogue Warriors. They haven't really been able to do too much with it. They are finally going for that the binding I'm not sure what happened with the control ward.
Obviously, he had the control ward on one of his buttons that was the very close to the binding, and sadly used it. So they will not have that extra pink ward in the bot side for Rogue Warriors in the next few minutes. But it's 75 gold. You'll gain that back by the time you walk back to lane, I think.
Yeah, just bit of questionable, but it's kind of what we've seen. We saw earlier today. I keep saying we've seen it earlier today. We've seen a lot today. It's been a long day.
It's been a long day.
Where Callistas won't bind level 1, because level 1 is like, it's important to have people on the map, whether you're defending, whether you're invading, whatever. And they'll actually bind on the first reset. And it won't really cost them anything, because they won't level W until later in the game. And obviously you don't have your ult yet, so you're not really losing anything out on the back of that. They are a little bit down in pressure though in this bot lane. You can see Varus has been able to answer a bit more, and after that level 1 of the Alistar, they're feeling more comfortable. Mid lane is still Icon just shoving this wave in pretty endlessly, and it means there's a lot of freedom now on the map for LNG to make an impact. You can see Iwandi gonna go on a little walkabout and just clear out the blast cone, kind of limit the threat of the Diana coming over and taking a created gank angle.
Yeah, well, no vision will be available in that bush as Chocho and Betty do clear out all of that vision. And ever since that first early game gank, it has been pretty quiet from Xiao Hao. There is still no level or no flash onto the LA on top side, so it's still very, very gankable should they want to go for it. And actually, always like seeing the early Grievous Wounds items coming out against laning phases like a Silas or even a Viego. We see both the Rise and the Renekton going for that particular move, and we see nice ward there, going to die in about 3 or 4 seconds, but it got the information. And the important thing to note as well is that Tarzan does not know that it got the information. Now he knows he's been a little bit caught out. There is going to be the elastic slingshot brought in, but it's just going to be steal of the Raptor camp.
Yeah, just able to contest this one. Smite coming up soon, but I think he's just not in time. Kind of cautious about the Diana coming in. And despite the fact that we had the early advantage from Xiao Hao, Tarzan's been able to catch up and is now up in farm, had that level 6 available sooner. So honestly, I think LNG are pretty comfortable with the state of the game. We said that leading into the later stages, they had a lot of value there. Now, Rogue Warriors definitely can still find team fights later on if they get good engages on the backline. But for the most part, LNG, a slower early game, feels comfortable for them. The Calista definitely getting zoned out a bit and doesn't have the cleanse available, which makes this Varus so threatening. If you get comboed by the Alistar, Chains of Corruption follows. I mean, that's what I'm talking about.
Exactly what you just mentioned there. We will see the flash being used by Betty's. He's trying to put down the Rens. Not quite able to take down Iwandi, but look at Icon roaming in with the Realm Warp. They will not have the minions just yet. Betty in a lot of trouble forcing the flash out. They will kill off Iwandi, though, just as he goes down. Light taking another hit with the turret. They're not quite able to land the hook, though, onto Icon. And now Chocho kind of caught between a rock and a hard place, without a prayer, without a panel, and without any life whatsoever. Light picks himself up that one, and Icon with a successful roam bot side.
Yeah, interesting decision for Iwandi to be the one to tank there on that HP, but either way, the play works, but Rogue Warrior is going to respond on the other side with this Herald. The mid laner being bot means there's no way LNG can really contest. But they will just sort of hover in the rush and wait for that to go by. Iwandi comes topside after that reset. But all in all, really favorable play for the side of LNG in critically shutting down Betty and putting this cluster behind.
And we actually see the flash and Dominus being burnt here by ZDZ. So good combination there by Tarzan, able to sneak himself into that topside bush and make sure that they're not gaining any advantage with having this flash summoner. But still, no massive advantage for either side. It's still very tenuous as we come into the 10-minute mark of the game. It is still yet to see a dragon being taken, and with the Rift Herald in the hands of Rogue Warriors, they may look to try and force that objective with the bot lane having priority.
Yeah, I mean, and they have a pretty quick route in there. Light has to answer this wave, and Tarzan's clearing the red, so potentially could just start this one up. They'll definitely be able to secure the scuttle and vision control, but for the most part, I think this should be a free pickup.
Yeah, they don't even have to commit the Rift Herald just yet, as actually this time around Xiao Hao just not feeling super confident, just wants to wait until he's maybe level 8 before he 100% commits to that. But yeah, Rogue Warriors, they thought about it, but then thought about not doing it.
Yeah, potentially maybe concerned about the bot difference at the moment. Just the fact that Betty doesn't have flash available. If Alistar combos Betty, Chains of Corruption follows. We saw the flash saved him last time initially. That won't happen again. He will just die. Very difficult to sort of outplay that as the Calista. And they're just trying to, they took a bit of priority bot lane. They'll re-establish control in this area, and now they feel confident to pick up this dragon. Again, LNG haven't really been too concerned with these first dragons for the most part this series. They've kind of just been happy to sometimes let them slide for Rogue Warriors.
Yeah, getting the first one out. It's again at 10 minutes of the game, so still very late. But that's 2 global objectives being picked up by Rogue Warriors. So good early start to it. They've got themselves the Rift Herald as well as the first Drake. It is going to be an Ocean or an Infernal as we have the Mountain coming up next. So see what way they want to work with it. Xiaohao still sitting on this Rift Herald. Is about halfway on its cooldown. Iwandi is around this top side though, and they're just going to look to try and maybe get the priority around this top end because they know that ZDZ does not have any flash.
Yeah, and he has to be really cautious. You can see Rogue Warriors responding and moving over, but LNG are happy just to back away, happy with the pressure they applied, and sort of any denial that they could find. Now, I wonder he might be in trouble here. Does just finish the recall in time. But now again, they have the tempo advantage because they moved top. Rogue Warriors responded. Now LNG have moved back onto the other side of the map and will be there quicker. So just allows them to make the plays a little bit snappier. Isn't really anything to play for right now. Kind of waiting on that second Herald realistically. But does mean that potentially Betty could be in trouble if they wanted to punish in the bot lane.
If they wanted to go for it, they might have found themselves an opportunity, but it is just at the moment Betty clearing out the waves. Flash forward to the hook and puts him right beside Icon, but not quite able to grab him. I think it was very much a hook or flash hook anticipation, but with Icon no longer having his flash now at the rise, we're going to see them push in towards this mid lane and pick up at least 3 turret plates. So it's a nice little bit of gold here for Rogue Warriors. And now Betty in a little bit of trouble. He will not get caught up just yet, but there's a chain of corruption. Iwandi picks up that kill, and that's exactly the combination you talked about here for the side of LNG.
Yeah, zero counterplay. Literally zero counterplay because you can't dodge the Alistair, and once the combo connects, the chains are coming after. The burst damage is there. Now, Tarzan going pretty aggressive here.
I mean, I like this from the side of Rogue Warriors. They're going to commit the TP, so it's going to be a 5v4 at the start of this one here. But they are able to take down the Nautilus. So LNG looking pretty good, but the Moonfall hits onto 3. And you can see ZDZ just wreaking havoc in this backside to kill out the Viego. And this Tarzan has no damage, but it is enough from the rise to be able to take down 2 more people. They end up getting more and more from this. And the end of it all, it ends up being a 4-for-1 trade, or 4-for-2 trade in favor of LNG.
Yeah, just a little bit ambitious going for that play. I just feel like there wasn't really a way that Rogue Warriors going to win that one with Betty being down. And critically as well, I think Forge felt confident because he could grab the Alistair ult. And don't get me wrong, Alistair ult really broken with Salas. There's a lot of good choices here. Alistair ult's great, Chains of Corruption, the bounce house from the Zac, but it just wasn't a good fight when you've lost your 80 carry already. And again, there's just no counterplay to this situation. There's no outplay, there's no potential. And yet they still look for a fight on the back end of this, trying to commit to this play. And for what? What are you fighting for here?
Yeah, it just feels like they went for it. I kind of liked it at the start because I thought they may have been able to burst someone out, but they just haven't got any consistent damage right now. And Xiaohao is just so afraid to go in and just about gets the Moonfall down. And yes, they kill off Iwandi, but it's so separated, and Forge just not quite able to keep himself alive. The Ignite even there from Ale just taking down Forge right at the end. It just goes in favor of LNG right at the start of it, and only 1,000 gold lead, but they are getting the advantages they need.
The thing is that without the sustained damage from the Cluster, Opportunity really difficult spot, and the targets they initially engaged on with the Alistair and the Zac, who aren't going to go down easily now. Tarzan's fishing for something in the top lane. We do have Icon moving up as well. There's a Realm Warp.
There's a Realm Warp and the Heartbreaker. ZDZ just has to flash almost as soon as he gets it back off cooldown. He has to use it straight away. They are going to use this, however, as a moment to push in mid lane and bot lane, because they know that there is no real response from the side of LNG as of now. Tarzan is here. Maybe he wants to go for something. There is his push up, but not quite able to get it. The chains lands, and now Tarzan takes a little bit of punishment for going in without the support of his team.
Yeah, has to be respectful of that. But do you see, for a degree, LNG able to sort of defend. They commit the resources top lane. They manage to back off. They manage to cover mid. Does give Rogue Warriors a window to go for that Herald though, and Dragon spawning in 35. But on the other side, Light just able to pick this tower up. And that will be the first tower of the game. Bear in mind, the gold lead isn't that big between teams, but the gold lead between 80 carries, massive right now.
Massive.
Nearly 2,000.
My God, you're absolutely right. You're 2,000 in favor of Light. He is just a monster. Betty on this Callista just not going to be able to do anything against this Varus. And 303, 100% kill participation for the Varus. You will take that. It doesn't equal much of a item advantage right now, but you can see it there in the levels. He's a level ahead of his opponent. So Betty still reeling from that particular experience, and RW, they might look to try and maybe force out topside and mids. They might get 2 towers out of actually what I'm going to call with pretty poor resets coming in from LNG.
Yeah, the time's been a little bit off. They haven't really gotten in position to defend this, and it's the fact that they can take the Herald instantly translate it, but they are looking to engage. That's a long Zac jump.
Oh, long Zac jump, and you had Iwandi with the Hex Flash as well. Ale moving forward with the Heartbreaker resets. He was renekted for a little bit, but Xiaohao is in no real danger, and Betty trying to, I guess, take the Raptors, but then realizes that he doesn't really want to be in a position where they could collapse on him as well. So everyone kind of backs up, and LNG get another advantage.
I think LNG are at the point where they're feeling really strong, right? They've sort of got past the early game navigation. Callista isn't too much of a threat. Renekton isn't a massive threat at this point. It's kind of like Icon's got some items behind him. Light is closing on his second item, so has a massive lead. Arlay feels really comfortable and should have the Divine Thunder soon. It just feels like they're in a decent spot, but Rogue Warrior is still trying to find a pick here, but it's on the Alistar.
It's on the Alistar. They do force the Unbreakable Will out of the I1D for the moment. And that honestly might be enough for Rogue Warriors to take this dragon. They're going to swap it for the gold and tower in the top side. LNG happy to take that trade as of this moment, but now you're in a little bit of a position now. If Rogue Warriors get another dragon, this could be a bit of a sticky situation for LNG. They are prioritizing the money and gold and power now versus the power later.
Yeah, it is that Infernal Soul as well, so definitely high priority. I think the main thing, though, for the side of LNG is that you don't mind giving 2 dragons over, right? It's as long as you can contest that third, and if you get the significant enough gold lead, you feel comfortable contesting that third. Like, the extra ultimate ability haste, not that big of a deal. The extra bit of resistance is, again, not exactly game-changing. But having, this big 3,500 gold lead for LNG, they will feel comfortable when it comes to that point. Now, we'll get a replay of that leap, and I mean, just look at the range in this bad boy.
Yeah, just so much distance to cover, and then without a flash, ZDZ, nowhere to go. He just gets bounced up so many damn times, and you combo that with the Alistar, the bouncing, the knockups, the knockbacks. It's just so difficult to get out of CC right now, and I feel like Merc Treads should be on the cards for a lot of these tankier members. And speaking of Merc Treads, we're going to have to see a little bit of an engage now in the mid lane as they jump on. Cho trying his very best, but the Zac jumps in to try and be the front line. Xiaohao is just straight up taken out of the fight. Nothing they can do, and 2 quick kills. LNG feeling confident, feeling frisky, looking for more, but without the minion wave, they are just going to have to take this turret and back themselves up a little bit, but they might look for the tier 2. Yeah,
I mean, I think Rogue Warriors have to be really concerned. They won't push for that tier 2 right now. The mini wave gets quickly cleared out. But, I mean, I think we're kind of seeing the value of a Zac if you can get him through the early game, right? Earlier today, we had the Zac who kind of got punished really hard in the early stages by SOFM. But here, Tarzan was unchecked, and now he's in a really comfortable position. He just dives in. No fear, no real chance for any recourse. I mean, look at this situation here. So the Salas and the Diana are trying to find the engage in the back line, and we just have the Alistar running interruption, and the Zac jumps on top, and just the Diana does nothing.
Yeah, the Diana literally gets the ult off of the 2 tankiest members and then dies. So it was not what you want to be seeing there. And this is Rogue Warriors looking like they're hitting panic stations. It's a little bit desperate from them in that regard because you didn't have ZDZ there. You didn't commit fully with Betty. Betty flashed away, so wasn't putting in auto attack damage. And yes, it's a great hook from Cho, don't get me wrong, but no one was on light. No one was dealing with this incredibly fed Varus, who's now 3-0-5, 2 items, has got the wit's end on him as well, and this is just becoming harder and harder and harder for Rogue Warriors to make work.
Yeah, absolutely. This is just becoming a bit of a problem, and it doesn't really get easier later in the game. There's a lot of concerns I have for the side of Rogue Warriors as this one goes on, especially because the Callista's behind. Building similar items to on-hit Varus. We've seen both have the shield bow, both going towards that wit's end. But just the substantial lead means Light is just going to do more damage. And again, you don't have that cleanse for Betty, but even if you did, cleanse doesn't actually do that much this game because of the knockups. The Zac and the Alistar, cleanse won't help you against those. It's only the change of the corruption. And so you're put in this rough spot where you don't have great options to deal with this CC potential. It kind of just comes down to, does Betty have flash? And if he doesn't, he's kind of doomed. And right now, he does not.
Even if he has flash, you know, LNG have Icon who could flash in Room Prison. They could get in with Ale on the backside. They could flash in with Tarzan. There's so many things that can just get on top of them that makes fighting these fights so difficult for Betty on Rogue Warriors. And this is more to what I expected from Rogue Warriors. It's probably why I didn't get as excited as certain other casters when they picked up a 1 or 2 wins, because this is what I expected to see from them. They have got a lot of issues when it comes to team fighting and positioning that shown in a lot of the early games. And yes, they picked them up a little bit, and I'm not trying to beat a dead horse right now, but it just feels like this is the game I expected to see from LNG versus Rogue Warriors.
Yeah, and I think obviously we can always give credit to Rogue Warriors for the early games, but right now in this one, it's a pretty big uphill battle. You can see the gold across all players. Just that significant lead between AD carries is a big concern, and he has a much easier job cutting through the front line of Rogue Warriors than the other way around. Now, do you see LNG trying to make sure they have vision of the Baron area, potentially threaten it if this dragon gets picked up by LNG? Because we imagine that Rogue Warriors would love to have this third dragon. I mean, why wouldn't they? It puts them 1 away from that Infernal Soul. But I think they're very much aware that they're not in a position to contest right now. So they're kind of just giving it up. We're toying with the idea of potentially rushing down a Baron like they did in game 1. But ultimately, we just see them unable to really get anything off the back of this. And that dragon going to be going towards LNG probably in the next like 20 seconds. They'll just head over and pick that one up. Yeah,
push it in the mid, push it in the bot. You can see Ally just delaying the reset there from Forge. So they're not going to be able to do anything much there. But with 4 people on this bot side, you can see on the minimap there, Xiao Hao and Forge looking to maybe capitalize on an overextended Ale as they now just jump in on top of that. The Stolen Heartbreaker as they try and keep going on top of him, but no real mana, and Forge goes underneath the tower. One more auto attack would have killed him, but it has to burn his flash, and that means Dragon in favor of LNG. Bot tier 2 in favor of LNG. And Rogue Warriors are just without any real ideas.
They just seem a bit lost. You know, they're trying to force on the other side of the map, and I get it. You want to play towards the other side of the map, but LNG are able to take more as a result, right? You know they're committed to the Dragon side. You know you can't do Baron. Let's try and pick off Ale. They don't find, and they end up burning Forge's flashes for it as well. And LNG are like, fine, you're going to lean top side. We take your bot lane tier 2. There's nothing that ZDZ can do in that situation.
And this is great for LNG. This will lock them in. If they're able to keep this trajectory, if they're able to keep this pressure up, they will lock themselves into playoffs. They are guaranteed. Where did that minion go? I have no idea where that minion was going for a second there, but they will lock themselves in. They will join FBX and EDG onto 10 wins at the top of the standings. They will be slightly below them as they have 4 losses, and we wait to see who else will join them. You look at that table. It's Rare Adam on 9 and 4, Team WE on 8 and 4, and then we hit a little bit of a cluster where it's Suning 8 and 6, and then there's 7-5 for Royal Never Give Up, Top Esports on 7 and 5, and then Billy Gaming 7-6, JDG 7 and 6, OMG 7 and 6. So it does get a little bit harder to figure out who's going to be making it after the last, you know, the final 4 or 5 places start to muddy into each other.
Yeah, and getting clear of that gives you a lot of comfort, getting you in a good spot. Every win still really important, just with how, as you said, muddy things are at the moment. And we do see that LNG pushed that bot wave in and have kind of just sacrificed it in this situation, and that allows them to push in through this top side of the map, push through that mid and top lane, and go for plays like this where they lean into that top lane tier 2. They won't quite get it yet, but it's quite low on HP, and remember, gives a lot of gold ever since the change they brought in. And now, actually, fight breaking off.
We're going to see a fight breaking off. Icon had got the Banshee's Veil, so he will not be taking any CC up. And we see a flash in. The Moonfall comes down onto 2, and you can see Ale running for the hills. He does not want to be a part of this. They did get the TP from ZDZ. Now they're going to be a trade of 1 for 1. It's Rise, though, for the Nautilus. You're very happy with that. Look at Betty. He's just putting spears into people right now. They take down the Silas, but they lose the Alistair. They take down the Cow for the Crocodile. And now Ale looking to try and trade this one back, but Tarzan and Light are just too damn big. Look at the range on that. This man should be an Olympic jumper with how far he's able to make that move. And that's going to be a full ace in favor of LNG, and they're going to take their prize of the Baron.
Honestly, I don't think that was actually that bad of a fight for Rogue Warriors, but they just couldn't follow through at the end of it. They just couldn't find the momentum. And the thing is, it's a goal difference, right? All in all, I think the actual structure of how that fight went, not too bad. The problem is, LNG are ahead. They can't take down Tarzan. RLA just gets so much value in these extended fights with the resets, and Light is able to position really well on the back of that. It's just so difficult right now. And we get the replay. So again, it starts on a tower, which is always bad for the side of LNG because they're taking tower hits. They can't really commit too heavily. And then we see this initial engage come down. They're pumping a lot of damage out, and they actually manage to pick off the Rise as soon as Icon moves in, which is a really critical factor because removing one of those major carries, Chocho gets on top of them, they all turn, and that's a win. That's like, okay, that's a positive. The fight's starting okay, but they just can't carry through the rest of the fight, and that goal difference is coming in. The value of things like the Zac in these extended fights. In fact, he was like half HP there, and he just ends up healing up so much on the back end.
Yeah, just able to do so much. It's very, very unfortunate start to the fight as well for Rogue Warriors. Just as they drop down the depth charge right on top of Icon, he gets his Banshee's passive back just as it was about to come back. So, little bit unfortunate. That is a gamer moment. That is a little bit unfortunate there for Chocho. And again, that fight looks very, very different if it does start off with Icon getting caught out. But it doesn't, it didn't, and now Rogue Warriors find themselves in a 10,000 gold pit with a Baron buff on the back of LNG, and now LNG can continue to push in, and there's just nothing you can do. You need to find a fight, and you need to fight now, because even with the Baron buff, you're just going to lose too much.
But it's so difficult because we now have 3.5 items on Light. He's got that stopwatch as well. Very difficult to shut him down. He's just doing so much damage with like Gwynsu's now picked up. They will try and apply pressure to Ale, but he's chilling. He's completely fine in this situation. And they'll just keep trying to split pressure across these top two lanes. There is a wave pushing in bot that they can also lean towards.
And they just got to keep this cannon minion who's going to be joined by a friend in about 2 seconds, nice and healthy. And who kills it? No one has range on the side of Rogue Warriors. And you can see there Tarzan just pushing in forward, going to be forcing the Fate's Call out of Betty to keep Chocho alive. And Dominance as well. You could just wait. You could honestly just wait for a little bit longer and just take this fight whenever you choose. You don't have to overcommit to this.
Yeah, and the thing is, Rogue Warriors want to fight. They want to break this Baron siege, but Minions going to get TP'd in by the Rise to the other lane. The cannons are there, and they'll just be able to tank up the tower, and they very quickly transition this from a mid inhibitor take to a bot inhibitor take. And that's those two inhibitors down, going to cause a lot of pressure, especially when the Baron spawns next. But for now, I think LNG, they go towards that dragon, they pick it up, they reset, and they just push top. It should be easy sailing from here.
It should be easy sailing as they're going to go back, pick up themselves an Infernal.
There's an item that's been picked up by a certain player.
I see it. I know what item you're looking at. And, I'm curious about it as well. I think when you're this far ahead and you're Zac, you're not going to die. Who is going to kill you? Like, you riddle me this alongside the stopwatch and the Cell Division passive. No one's killing you at this game.
It's definitely some sort of confident energy coming out from Tarzan right now. With the Medjais. Only 10 stacks, but he does get a movement speed buff, so can't complain too much. Getting him back on the map sooner. But yeah, right now, LNG firmly in control. And again, Rogue Warriors not playing for anything as such here, but this was a close series. They managed to take a game pretty substantial. And it kind of becomes a last-ditch effort for them to find a team fight here. It's definitely hard. There's a GA now completed for Light. But we'll see if they're able to pull it off. They need a fight sooner rather than later just because of those super minions in the side waves.
Yeah, they need to just go find the go button. That is it. Go straight in on top of someone. But there's Tarzan. We can see Chocho going golden straight away. Betty completely caught up in the chains of corruption. I don't think they can really go anywhere now. Oh no, Xiao Hao has been caught. He has to go into Zonya's state straight away. He tries to get the moonfall off as Zac's abilities end up going straight up into the camera and knocking up all of the different particles. And LNG, they're just too far ahead. Look at their health bars. Look at how they're posturing around this bot side. They don't care. Tarzan can literally go in on top of this and not give two dams about how he goes. Ianza gets a little bit of stall points as we do see the final fight coming in. It's actually going to be Iwandi, the first one to fall. These health bars are starting to palm down a little bit. You need to be a little bit careful if you're on the side of LNG. You don't want to just overextend too much, but Light with the GA able to come back in, take down the tier 1, or the tier 1, the Nexus, first Nexus turret. So I finally get my words out of me. And that's going to be all she wrote. The second Nexus turret will fall, and that is going to be Rogue Warriors falling 2-1 to LNG, and LNG qualifying with 10 wins to take themselves into playoffs.
securing that spot really important. Again, not the most convincing series. We were hoping for a bit more decisiveness from LNG, proving that they're returning to their form for the start of the season. I still don't think they're there yet, but they managed to clutch this one out. Tarzan absolutely massive on the Zac, and as you said, locking in that playoff spot. Still a lot to play for in terms of getting first round buys, getting a comfortable position, but they've definitely made a big step today.
They have definitely, and you know, again, this is what you want to be seeing from LNG. They needed a win, they got the win, and yes, it's a 2-1. We might look at Game Store later on in week 9. Of course, we're still in week 8, but they play Top Esports and EDG next, and these are 2 massive tests now for the side of LNG to see if they are up to the task, you know, if they are available to put themselves in a position to contest for the title.
That's the thing, you know, again, started split 7-0. I think a lot of people felt confident in them, but recent form, I think it's going to be a challenge, and I think we still need to see more out of them. There's those games where it feels like they just don't have as much agency. It feels like if Tarzan isn't able to get a strong start in the jungle, the team kind of just struggles. And again, it's that disconnect as well. It's that divide between team players where people are going for individual plays. We saw from Icon when he just walked into the river and was like, I'm just going to die. And it's like, okay, yep. you do that.
And that's the big thing as well, is that this was a close series against a team that you should not be considered close to. Like, you're against Rogue Warriors. They're down in 14th. They're 4-10 now. They only play 2 more series left in the season, and they made you sweat a little bit. They made you worried that this could have been maybe gone the wrong way, or maybe it was something that could have gone a little bit more skewed if you weren't on the top of your game. And I'm thinking of teams like EDG, Top Esports, RNG coming into massive form. Team WE also on pretty good form right now with 4 wins on the trot. These are teams that are going to punish you so heavily for inactivity and also just straight up mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you need to be doing a little bit more. You need to be having this consistent level. And I think the fact that they're just so reliant on like having, you know, critical win conditions that they can play around, having Tarzan who can provide so much for the team, there's a lot of question marks still for me.
Lot of question marks. Of course, good games from RW. They are out of playoff contention, but they still gave it them all and gave us 6 games today, or 3 and 3 if you were looking at it from just our perspective. So long day for myself and you, Ox, but good to finally see.
It has been long.
It has been a long one. We've been fading a little bit. Of course, hard to get food into our bellies when we only have a certain amount of time between each game to try and catch up to where all the different studios are. But yeah, honestly, I don't think Rogue Warriors should be unhappy with their performance. I do think that Xiao Hao has kind of been found out a little bit. I feel like if teams just focus him out a bit, should be an easier way of mitigating a lot of what he brings to the team.
Absolutely. I think that's for me what we saw there when both of these teams are very jungle oriented. I think is the critical thing, and that's something to take away for Rogue Warriors for the rest of the split and also into next split to sort of look towards that and see how they can kind of rectify those issues. But I think when they have a draft that gives them a lot of agency, it's clear he can do well.
Absolutely. And I think for LNG, they're going to be looking towards a little bit more of a They need a confidence boost. I think if they beat Top Esports, then I start to lean my I suppose my worries onto Top Esports a little bit more than I would onto. I was gonna say, like, it's Top Esports are in a little bit of trouble. They're in 7-5. If they lose to LNG, which I believe is their next game, it is a scary. Yes, they actually play LNG on Thursday. But before we talk about that, let's have a look at our MVP from that game. And it's going to be pretty much anybody, but I do think Tarzan was the full instigator and facilitator for this team and for LNG to be able to make it as comfortable as it was.
He picked Zac. He did the big stretchy leaps into the back line. You know, he has the MVP for me. I think in team fights, he was such a massive force, and it was critical that he was able to get through the early game without being pressured too hard, because this is what happens if you can't shut down a Zac early. He just has so much AoE potential, so much dive potential, and particularly against a composition like this. Betty is short range, everyone else is melee, and you just jump on them, you slap them together, and you're good to go.
Yeah, honestly, it worked out. There was no real punish for the Zac in the early game, so able to get up to his first item, of course, picking up that Frostfire Gauntlet, and then just never died. I think that's the best way I can put it. And I think for Rogue Warriors, like I said, they just ran out of options. They ran out of gold, really, and they just didn't have the resources at hand to make this one work. And yes, there was one or two opportunities in the last particular game where they might have been able to find something, but I think once the bot lane went awry, there was no coming back.
Yeah, I think particularly we saw just such a lead on the Varus that it became such a massive problem to try and get back into that one. And especially, like, you kind of had the Renekton not really having the momentum you needed. The Silas was obviously a bit of a sore point. And I think the thing is, when you're playing things like Diana or Zac, those champions who tend not to be as effective at being proactive in the early game, having mid priority is so